Greetings, everyone. This is Melek Shalama, and today is the 19th of February 2026. It's 11:18 a.m. Eastern Time, and I'm going to do a trade recap here I did on ES, and we're going to start here from the ETH session, the London Open, which is at 3 o'clock, right? So we have this open here that pushes up a little bit to around which creates the ETH high around 69.1250, and we start to get the immediate sell-off, right? So at this point I wanted to start labeling some accumulation structure. By the time I got to the charts, I was seeing that we're basically developing an accumulation structure around Camarilla S3 and the full session VWAP, value area low, sorry, and this is a higher time frame buying climax level. So it's looking like buyers are trying to support above this buying climax level here on the daily chart, right? So basically what this was here was a, let's label this as well, this is a preliminary support. So let me just hold on 1 second. Right, so that's the preliminary stop right there, right? So that's the first response of the buyers trying to support price. So we have that at around 68.65 or 68.65.25, right? So price pushes back up. We have liquidity on the offer, right? We're pushing back up here. We get sellers again, and it pushes back down. So now I'm looking at this as the selling climax. So I labeled it the selling climax right there as well. See, right. So that's the selling climax. This was the preliminary stop, right? So we have the selling climax here. And then we have, after the selling climax, we create the automatic rally, right? So that's the automatic rally right there. Label it the automatic rally. And then we have a little consolidation and we break down again, right? So let me just open this up a little bit. So this right here, I call this the secondary stop sign of weakness, right? So it actually broke down from the secondary stop, and I call that a secondary stop sign of weakness. That's labeled at 68.57. So after that, we push up, we create, and this is at the RTH open, right? So we have that volatility pushing down, creating the secondary stop sign of weakness, pushing below the selling climax here at 68.62.75. And we start rotating to the upside, right? So in an accumulation structure, after the selling climax and the secondary stop, I'm looking for, after the automatic rally and we come down and we create the secondary stop right here, I'm looking for uptrust action, right? So we get the initiative buyers pushing up, and this label is right here above yesterday's settlement. I'm highlighting it right there, uptrust action. Let me just open that. That's at 68.94.50, right? So that's the push up right there to the up to create the uptrust action, right? So that's the buyers pushing out and above the automatic rally. So when I get this structure now, I'm starting to look for distribution, because in an accumulation structure, after the uptrust action, we're going to push back down into the range, right? So I start labeling now for a distribution structure, right? So this right here is the preliminary supply at 68.85.25. So if we go across here, we can see heavy volume delta, right? Buying delta 14.22, right? We have 327 buy stops, and in the Black Sun strategy, we're looking for buyers getting absorbed, right? We see buyers getting absorbed on the offer, Heavy liquidity on the offer, they're running into that, they're getting absorbed. Liquidity on the offer, liquidity on the offer, right? So let me just point that out right here and right here. You're seeing the buy stops 163. We're seeing iceberg sellers. Let me just get rid of that. Right, iceberg sellers right there in the purple. Iceberg sellers, right? These are the buy stops, 327, 222, 163, right? So we're seeing the absorption and the buy stops coming out of happening in the market, right? So that's one of my criterias for the Black Sun strategy. So we find the preliminary supply, we get a little pullback, we find the buying climax, right? We're looking for some VPI and VPI, volume pressure imbalance, and volume pressure buying spikes. We get those right here on the preliminary supply, right? This right here, we don't get a spike, but it gets up to that, almost to the spike level, and it starts to fail, right? We get a spike on the iceberg buyers. Iceberg buyers get run over right here, and sellers take control, right? We have more iceberg buyers coming in here to create, after the buying climax, we create the automatic reaction, right? So that's the first sign of support in the distribution. So we get that iceberg buyers, 266 sell stops, right? So we start moving back up. Now what we're looking for is we're looking for the uptrust right now, right? So after the automatic reaction, we're looking for the uptrust. The uptrust comes up to yesterday's settlement. So we label this right here, 68.9450. That's our uptrust. So we're gonna look at the VPI and the VP, volume pressure and volume pressure imbalance. We're getting just a little spike right there in the red on the volume pressure imbalance, and a little spike right there on the volume pressure. That's the blue to purple, and volume pressure imbalance is green to the purple right there, right? So we have we have a little buy stops coming out, nothing much, but what we're looking for in the order flow as well is, let me just open this. Remember, we're looking for liquidity on the offer, absorbing buyers as they come up to the liquidity on the offer, right? So we have heavy liquidity pushing into these offers right here on the heat map. And let's open this a little more. And what we get is liquidity is increasing on the offer as buyers are getting exhausted, right? So they start rotating to the downside, right? Losing momentum, prices stalling. We see sellers starting to take control. So this is plus 100 contracts as a seller is breaking down from this mini consolidation right here, right? We also have sellers 443 taking control here, right? So we're breaking down, we create the uptrust, we're coming back to the buying climax. This is the central pivot. This is weekly value area low, weekly central pivot, right? So we have some sellers taking control. We push down, we push back up here. So I usually use sweeps and absorption as well. So let me just put that back on, because that's part of the strategy, and the VWAPs as well. So as that populates, I'll just continue narrating the trade. Right, so we have sellers taking control here. We're breaking down the central pivot, retesting the central pivot, weekly value area low. Sellers still in control, buyers get exhausted right here. Sellers in control, 186 contracts right here. Right, so sellers look like they're firmly in control of the breakdown, right? So we're coming down to this automatic rally level from the accumulation, and I'm starting to look for, and we're also looking at this automatic reaction level. So I'm starting to look for sellers running into liquidity on the bid at the automatic reaction, right? Looking for the response, looking at what the buyers are doing on the response, right? So when we look here, we're seeing liquidity on the offer is capping price. They kind of pulled here a little bit, but buyers are getting exhausted. They're not pushing above. There is a bid here. The bid gets tested. Buyers push back, test this. Let me just open that a little more. Right. So buyers basically, sellers basically break out of this little range, this little consolidation, retest the consolidation, and start breaking down again. So this is where I took my trade right here. This was my entry at 68.79, right? So 68.79, sellers start taking control. We run into an iceberg buyer, push back up, rotate, retest here again. Liquidity on the offer comes in, caps price. We start rotating to the downside again. We run into Camarilla S3, right? So when I saw us run into Camarilla S3, volume is spiking, right? We have some iceberg sellers, we have some sell sweeps, and we have some buy sweeps, right? So those are the buy sweeps, those are the sell sweeps, right? So we get a little rotation back. This is also VPOC right here at 68.76. We rotate, we retest VPOC. So the reason I left this trade on was because we're running back into VPOC. This is also VWAP. Let me highlight that as well, that green line. That's VWAP, that's VPOC. So I want to see if price is actually going to sustain above VWAP and VPOC, right? This is also London's VWAP, that white line right there. The yellow line is the mid price, right? All of this is happening at my automatic reaction level. I'm looking to see if buyers are going to maintain above these levels. They rotate, sellers come back in, we retest Camarilla S3 again, and we start rotating above. And that's when I exited the trade here. It was already like kind of below break even, my trailing stop. But this is the signal right here for me to exit, because we break above the structure, right? It was looking kind of good coming down here, ran into Camarilla S3 again, and it's time to come out of the trade. And this trade actually squeezed all the way back up to this level right here, right? So that was a good call on exiting this trade. So yeah, so that was my trade recap. It's basically a black sun strategy, but within an accumulation structure at the uptrust action. So if you know anything about Wyckoff, that was my Wyckoff theory kind of breakdown right there, how I fit the black sun strategy into that uptrust that is possibly going to break back down into the range, right? So let's look at current price right now. All right, so let me just take off some of this for clarity again. All right, so basically we're kind of rotating here between basically weekly value area low and Camarilla S3, daily Camarilla S3, right? So it's just like a big rotation right here, but still possibly could be like a little distribution that could happen. We could easily break down Camarilla S3, and there is potential for us to get to these levels, right? If the buyers don't maintain this level right here, right? This buying climax, the higher time frame buying climax level, then it's potential to come down to these level Camarillo S4 yesterday's low, right? So if they don't maintain this overall accumulation structure from London session, so you see that's, let me pull that back. So basically it's like a little rotation here. They're accumulating. If they don't accumulate, that could be redistribution and we could head further down, right? If this is accumulation here, then we should get that support at Camarillo S3 and push up to test these ETH high, London session open high and stuff like that, right? Come up to Camarillo R3, possibly yesterday's high, right? So yeah, that's my breakdown. Let's see how much I did on time. Okay, 15 minutes. All right, cool. So yeah, that was the trade recap. That's a breakdown of my thesis, my Black Sun strategy, using the Wyckoff theory as my basically as my gauge, right? And my foundation for reading order flow and market structure. All right, y'all, you'll trade safe and stay blessed.